Hey everyone, this is Walter, and I've been saying I'd do this all month, so let's get to it. It's time to talk about our favorite sex pest celebrity litigator once again. Russell Greer is best known for trying to sue Taylor Swift in a classic lawsuit, but now he's becoming known for trying to open a brothel. We're talking about Taylor Swift again today though. Let's get back into it with Russell Greer's book, Why I Sued Taylor Swift. What's insane is that guys actually pay for OnlyFans. It's sad and pathetic. Man, I might be inclined to agree with someone else saying that, but Russell's the guy who sends Instagram models $1 and then harasses them about it. That's way more shameful than paying for an OnlyFans, and even cheaper too. Abomination altars like this brothel need to be destroyed in Jesus' name, just like the Jericho walls came down. Churches need to be destroyed. The church is not a building. The church is people. We don't want to be destroying people. I don't really blame Russell for hating religion if he was raised Mormon, but it's amazing how he takes it as a personal insult when people don't like the concept of brothels. I'm sure Dennis Hoff didn't take it this personally, and it was like his whole persona. Think about the New Testament for a minute, and what Paul said to the Romans. If you're going to live by the law, then it's death, because you're going to have to live by all of its rules. So please read on and embrace grace, my dear. That's true freedom. God's holiness is freedom. I would probably just not keep engaging with these people, because they aren't going to see eye to eye, but I guess Russell has to. It's not, though. It's odd how you religious folks assume others who don't believe have never been religious, lol. Religion is dangerous because it makes people closed-minded and gives them false hope. Jan Jensen, who bought the property and destroyed it, is apparently religious. She apparently lied to the former owners to acquire the property. That is wrong. That is fraud. I'm looking into if Jan committed a crime, and I'm writing a letter to the Nye County Sheriff and the DA. But if you're okay with fraud and deceit, then it's time churches start being taxed. Okay, take this with a grain of salt because I have even less legal training than Russ does. But fraud seems to be defined as wrongful or criminal deception intended to result in financial or personal gain. I just don't see how they gained from it. And I don't even know if it was criminal deception either. Anyway, let's get back into the book and his lawsuit against Taylor Swift. Last time people on the internet started discovering Russell's antics because of his lawsuit. And he started basically getting the lolcow treatment on Facebook. Besides not wanting to accept the fact that I sued Taylor Swift, nobody wanted to understand why I sued her. Nobody understood my legal arguments, but with the recent revelation of Swift hating my guts, those legal arguments were now moot. The entire lawsuit was meant to bring her attention to her agent's negligence, but since she knew about everything, it was a moot case. Even my #1 supporter Ken lost faith in me. Taylor isn't under any contract to accept your gifts, thus there is no legal duty, Ken had explained to me. But I felt led on. The misrepresentations felt so real. The dreams felt so real. I felt I had this in the bag, so to speak. I had played the game right. I kept running through my mind where I went wrong. I stood by my efforts. My efforts were head and toe above the paper crane girls. My God, the paper cranes live rent-free in his head. You know, Russell, those 2 little girls didn't date Taylor Swift or make any songs with her either. As outlandish as it sounds, I strongly felt it was because of my facial deformity that Taylor Swift didn't want anything to do with me. It was the truth. All logic pointed in that direction, because I had done nothing wrong to her. Even though Ken may have been correct in his legal reasoning, I stood by my claims of being misled and being discriminated against. I also like how John Smith told him Taylor doesn't like him, and now that means she hates his guts for being disabled. Those two things are pretty different in my eyes. And now he's going to channel his inner Wes Watson and complain about the weirdos over on Reddit. Unbeknownst to me, weirdos online, more commonly known as internet trolls, were taking screenshots of my posts and were putting them on Reddit and other forums. While I personally didn't go onto the chat boards to read the forums on me, as who wants to read crap and slander written about them, I was informed through other people. Contrary to my intentions, I was becoming known as a fruitcake with my posts, as weird, as crazy, as frivolous. Since the situation was an odd one, my posts naturally came off as weird, even when that wasn't my intention. Even when I wrote very tame and polite posts, they were twisted to make me sound like a weirdo. Figuring that I was going to be seen as weird anyways for writing the truth, I decided to add flavor and flair to my posts. Be loud and proud, you know? I went total shock jock. I used rhetoric to get my message out there so John Smith could not stop it when I decided to go to the news. Many influential people throughout history have deployed rhetoric to spread their message. I decided to steal some of Donald Trump's thunder and say eccentric things on purpose to bring attention to my situation, since I was going to be hated for it anyways. So I guess what he's saying here is that he's acting out for attention like a toddler. Lucas has also used the shock jock excuse in the past, and no one's buying it. As a missionary, I had been taught the widely touted John Calvin phrase, "I set myself on fire with enthusiasm so others can come for miles to watch me burn." The quote, when it uses the word burn, doesn't mean the word in the sense of everybody is coming to laugh at you sort of way. The quote is just saying that your enthusiasm for what you are trying to get out into the world will attract others. It was time for me to utilize that phrase and have it become my daily motto in order to bring light to what Taylor Swift did to me. Post after posts of what I wrote was filled with flair and fire. I typed in bold words how Taylor Swift was not a princess but a snake. She was a hypocrite who contradicted everything she had ever written through song. She, and not her boyfriends, was the cause of her problems. She didn't care about the kids with cancer that she saw. She did it for the good publicity. She donated to charitable causes for the tax deductibles. This was all proven with how she treated me. If she really cared about everything she did, things would have worked out with her and I, because I was the perfect candidate. I embodied everything she advocated for. I had put in effort to impress her, to show her that I cared, and I got the middle finger from her and her family and her agents. I really like how Russell's pretty much getting mad about people talking about him on the internet and taking it out on Taylor Swift with angry posts. And while I don't think she's that genuine in general, to say she doesn't care about the kids with cancer that she visits might be a bit of a stretch. My rhetoric began to spread like fire online and in non-virtual reality. The rumors, though often twisted, were talked about amongst gamers who played online. Threads were created about me on Reddit. Coffee shop hipsters sipped their multi-flavored drinks as they gossiped about the man suing Taylor Swift. Facebook groups talked about Russell Greer and how weird I was. Hundreds of search results began forming on Google and on Bing of me. Taylor Swift Russell Greer began to be a search term that would show up in search results on search engines. Heck, any publicity is good publicity. I would let the truth speak for itself. A storm was beginning to brew. Despite all the rumors and gossip surrounding me, I still was unsure what I was going to say at the trial. It was mid-November 2016. I knew what I wanted to say, about how Taylor's stunts misled me. But I couldn't find any legal precedent to agree with what I was saying. I was completely oblivious to the third-person misrepresentation argument. The main consensus against me, online and with the people I talked to, was that I was not in a contract with Taylor Swift, nor had I ever met her, so therefore she owed me zilch, nada, zero, nothing, zip. But there had to be a way to show that with her level of influence, repercussions should be levied against her for misrepresentations. I gave myself until the end of November to find precedent and arguments to support me. And if I didn't, I would dismiss the case before trial. On a cold Sunday evening, towards the end of November, I was invited to go with a charity group to visit sick children in hospitals. One child I met was a boy named Max. He was 10 years old and was slowly dying. He showed the group that I was with a cardboard poster that contained his last wish, a shout out to have Taylor Swift come and visit him. My eyes widened in horror. "Taylor Swift is the best," Francine, a girl in my group, remarked. "Why do you want her to meet you?" "'Cause I've seen her visit other kids," Max explained. The group gave a giant "aww." Wow, this is like Hulkster in heaven. Russell is inventing a dying child, most likely to use in his own inspirational story. And of course comparing himself to said dying child. Like electricity streaming to a light bulb, the word instantly flashed in my mind: celebrity influence. By Taylor visiting other sick kids, Max was influenced by those visits. He put his dying wish on Taylor Swift as a person. And even though Taylor represented through her actions that she could visit every sick kid in the world, she would probably never visit Max, leaving him brokenhearted. I looked at sickly Max, and I felt sorry for him. I didn't want him to be disappointed like I was when I discovered that Taylor Swift didn't give a rat's ass about me, even after I went through so much effort for her. Right then and there in the hospital room, I decided that I was going to find the applicable precedent and take down John Smith and Taylor Swift in the courtroom. I was going to do this for Max. Max really should have just gone for John Cena or something. I really don't understand how winning this lawsuit against Taylor Swift is going to help the dying child, nor do I believe there was one really. Spending hours on the computer and skimming through different research sites, I studied numerous articles pertaining to celebrity influence. Finding articles that I agreed with, I would highlight important text and paste the research into a Word document. Much of the research I found was mentioned previously in Chapter 1 of this book, so go read it if you skipped over that part, because I feel it would be redundant to repeat the research that I found. And then with a few scrolls and clicks, I stumbled upon a life-changing law review written in 1987 by a then law student named Jay Kogan. The law review was entitled, Celebrity Endorsement, Recognition of a Duty. In essence, the law review did an in-depth study into the power of celebrities and argues how celebrities should be held liable for their misrepresentations with their publicity stunts, as they already are liable for the products that they negligently endorse and misrepresent. Granted, law reviews are not binding, per se, but the case law and information in them can be used for both mandatory and persuasive authority in arguments. Go read Chapter 1 of That Sounds Like Gibberish. As I studied the law review, orange-colored letters began to form on my bedroom wall, and they caught my attention. The light in my room began to dim. This previously happened in Ken's office, as explained earlier in the book. I refer to this strange happening as my beautiful mind moment, since similar occurrences happened in the movie A Beautiful Mind. And no, I wasn't a paranoid schizophrenic. The movie was just the only example I could think of to relate to my experiences. Like magic, the letters spelled out, Taylor Swift owes a duty to have disclaimers. I've never read a book before that felt the need to tell me that an event was explained earlier in the book. Guess he knew how boring the first chapter was if he expected people to skip it. Quickly, the letters dissolved and then black and white moving images began to project onto my wall. The images consisted of Swift basking in the spotlight, doing publicity stunts, posing with fans. And then other images began to play right beside the Swift moving pictures of fans eagerly wanting to meet Taylor Swift. The images of her fans consisted of different ages, genders, and ethnic groups from all over the world. Though they were all from different cultures and countries, the fans all shared one common trait: their smiles. They had put their faith in Taylor Swift. At a certain point, the happy fans turned into sad fans, apparently realizing that Taylor Swift did not wish to acknowledge them. They became disappointed. Young children began crying in their parents' arms. Preteen girls lied on their beds sobbing, hugging their pictures of Taylor Swift. Another picture showed a woman standing atop of a giant building, hopeless. She appeared to have given her all to Taylor and got nothing in return. Without warning, the woman jumped off the building and flung herself down towards the street. The pictures then dissolved, and the lights were raised to full room brightness. It was apparent. Given Taylor's level of influence, she owed duties to warn with her publicity stunts, with her paid and marketed interviews, to not cause heartaches to the fans that adores her, to prevent suicides. Russell sure has a vivid imagination, doesn't he? It feels more like he wants to write a movie than a book. And I bet Rusty here is the only one who was crying while hugging a picture of Taylor Swift, because he couldn't meet her. With a great sense of relief, I began sobbing because I had finally been redeemed. It was like a heavy weight had been lifted from my shoulders after reading the law review. My words weren't crazy. They had just been validated with the law review that I had read. There was somebody out there who agreed with what I was saying. I googled the author and discovered through his personal profiles that he was the vice president of legal affairs for a giant entertainment company, far from a crazy loon. Since I couldn't amend or supplement my lawsuit, as it was in small claims court, which doesn't allow for any fancy courtroom procedure, I gathered all the information I had found and prepared to use it for my small claims court trial. I was ready and armed with new information to win the lawsuit and bring Taylor Swift to justice for her failure to provide disclaimers. How did this guy go to college to become a paralegal and he's still sitting here calling a small claims court case a trial? And I love this disclaimer idea. Every time Taylor Swift does a publicity stunt or act of charity, it'll be like, disclaimer, Taylor Swift is not actually a good person and won't meet most of her fans. Okay, let's just read this last part where he seems to compare himself to Martin Luther King. Maybe it's appropriate with all the dream sequences. Our beautiful country, the United States of America, has had a violent history with persecuting those who espouse an unpopular belief and who put those beliefs into speech. Many examples abound. The assassination of Martin Luther King for advocating for the civil rights of blacks. Robert F. Kennedy killed while running for the presidency and held unpopular beliefs. Joseph Smith, founder of Mormonism, killed on the second floor of a jail with his brother for simply forming a new religion. Even the internment of Japanese Americans for them simply being Japanese. It is truly sad and ironic, given how the First Amendment of the Constitution grants free speech and free expression. But like the above-mentioned martyrs, I soon found myself being persecuted for my beliefs of what Taylor Swift did to me and the duties I claimed she owed me. Wow, that is some crazy shit. I feel like it's a bad sign if you have to go all the way back to 1987 to find one paper that kind of agrees with you. Written by someone who wasn't even a lawyer yet. Anyway, let's call it a day. There wasn't much action in this video, but the lunacy level was very high. If you've liked the video, please give it a like. If you have something to say, make sure you let me hear it in the comments. The Russell videos don't get so many views, so it helps to see that people are still invested in the story. If you're new here, consider subscribing for more of the same, and Reddit content, from weirdos. Big thanks finally to my amazing patrons who support me more directly over on Patreon. I'll be shouting them out very soon here. Have a great day, everyone, and disclaimer, I am not actually a good person, and I only help sick kids for tax breaks.